through, Coach Noyes and Coach Meisto through her career, and her senior year they made it to the sectional finals before they lost to St. Edward in a great game. But the 83-84 team, to accomplish what they did with just 7 players, was phenomenal. That was not a day of 65-60 type games. As a matter of fact, if I remember right, the super sectional game, it ended up something like 32-29. But I think what stands out to me for that team more than anything, and I would hope that the girls on that team, and it's really special that you're all here. That's fantastic. Is the fact that you got to be coached by one of the absolute best people I've ever been around that came through this school as a teacher and a coach. And you always knew where you stood with Coach Hicks. And, you know, I got to know him real well on a personal level over the years. He was married to my cousin, and when I was a non-driving freshman and sophomore, and he lived down the road from our farm, he'd pick me up on Saturday mornings to come up here for the freshman and JV games, and he'd drive that Porsche up Burlington Road 85 miles an hour, and he'd shift with his one arm, and you would never know that the man had one arm and it was driving a stick shift. But he was another one of those teachers and educators along the lines of Coach Strand who influenced us so much when we were younger that we carry those values still today. And this team is very well deserving of the recognition they're receiving tonight. Coach Hicks, of course, passed away a few years ago out in Arizona, and his assistant that year, it was Coach Meisto, who is a Hall of Fame coach himself, a softball coach, Hall of Fame, has a team in the Hall of Fame here that he took downstate in softball. So I'd like to introduce Coach Wade Meisto to introduce the girls basketball team.
I too, before I get started, would like to congratulate the new inductees this year. What a great group of athletes and coach that we had here tonight to represent Central High School. And I can't believe I've been here for 30 years in this building, and as proud as ever to be a Central Rocket. I think once you get that blue and white in your blood, it's going to be there forever. So it's a privilege for me to stand in front of you here tonight. And I'd also like to congratulate Gary Strand, a colleague of mine for many years before he retired. And I'm telling you, you are not going to ever find a nicer and more caring man than Gary Strand. Well, I wish I wasn't the one up here speaking tonight, and it's not because of stage fright, although I have a little of that. I wish Ralph Hicks could be here in front of you doing this himself. It was just a lot of fun for me to be part of that. That was back in the days when assistant coaches weren't really part of the program, and Ralph brought me into coaching basketball, and I started doing 8th grade, and I came and helped him as much as I possibly could. So it was a privilege of mine to be part of that, and especially with these girls. So like I say, he passed away a couple years ago, and we still miss him. And I wish he could be here. So I'm going to kind of do mine in 2 parts. I'm going to talk about Ralph here first, and then I'd like to talk about the girls here that we're going to induct into this Hall of Fame. Talked about, you see Gary Strand up here, and you can see by his demeanor, soft-spoken, somewhat. You know, he was a teacher, and he would communicate, would talk to you. Sometimes quite a bit, but he would talk to you. Ralph was not the same personality type. Okay, and sitting next to Ralph on the coaching bench, I truly think I prefer to have steel-toed boots because I can't tell you how many times he's stomping those feet up there when he's coaching, and my life was in jeopardy, and coats being flung, and chairs being kicked, and you name it. So you kind of took your life in your own hands sitting next to him. But yeah, soft-spoken would never be used as a descriptor for Ralph. He was very animated. And in girls basketball back in those days, I think sometimes many people came to watch Ralph as watch the basketball teams, because you knew there was always going to be a show with the game going on, good or bad. You always knew Ralph was in the gym. And he had, like I say, he had three loves I definitely know in his life. First and foremost was his wife Sharon and his two stepchildren. That she was a great support to him, and she came to stuff, and he always talked so well of her. His second passion was his cars. I know John Racky talked about his Porsche stories and stuff, but he really was someone who loved his automobiles and collecting of them and etc. And his third love and passion, I know he probably had a few more, but it was definitely girls basketball teams. And he coached for many years here also, Marengo, even back in Iowa before he came to Central High School. And there was a love and affection for this team that it's really hard to explain in words. He just thought a lot of them. But I'll try to speak on that in a little bit. When I think of Ralph, I think of the basketball stories, and I could tell you about some of the games and his gadget defenses, we'll do our triangle and two, and all this kind of stuff that he did to win basketball games. But I think my memory of him, I don't know if all the girls remember this, and I was talking to them earlier, I think it was poor Laura that had to be dribbling the ball at the time, but things weren't going so well, and we were a little bit out of sorts with our offense that game, and it wasn't going like he had planned, and I kid you not, right when we're there and we have the ball, he all of a sudden stood up and he goes, "Stop!" I kid you not, Laura grabs the ball. The defender froze. The official stopped. And it was just a moment that I don't think I'll ever, the entire gym froze at this man's words. So, yeah, you would think it would be basketball memories and the great shots these girls made and the great defensive plays, but for some reason that one sticks out. And when I think of Ralph, that's something I always think of. And like I say, obviously we had a lot of fun together. He never did call me by first name. Maisto. And I never called him by his last name, Ralph, And then, of course, other times the kid and, okay, old man, So we had other things, but it was just interesting how the dialogue there. So if he was here, I truly feel in my heart, this is what he would say about this group of girls. We never looked at them as basketball players. He did not look at them as basketball players. He looked at them as young ladies, the epitome of a student athlete. They played basketball in high school because they had fun doing it. Their lives involved so much more than basketball. It was something they did because they enjoyed it. And when you played for Ralph, you had to enjoy it. Because there were times when he was not easy for them to be around. But they always knew that there was nobody more important to him than his girls. And so even when we talked about them afterwards, that's the comment we never talked about games per se in this, we just talked about how wonderful they were and how proud he was of everything you did, and he followed you afterwards. Even when Michelle's daughter was playing at Hampshire, he's following her daughter, and he never stopped paying attention to any of those seven. He tracked them throughout. It wasn't just a job for him or a team for him. This was like family to him. And I really think he would have come across and said that. And I think it's evident tonight that with all seven of the girls are here. And I know Beth had to come from Ohio and etc. So it wasn't necessarily easy to get here. All seven of these girls are here. And I think that represents what Ralph did and what he felt about these girls. And I'd like to leave with this before I introduce the girls, because there were a number of times too when he said, "Maisto." when is that team going to get in the Hall of Fame? I said, relax, Ralph. Their day will come. Ralph, their day has come. I'd like John to read the name, and I'd like to hand the girls the plaque.
Oh, I guess we're going to use married names too. I thought I could sit here and just go, I know her, I know her, but I don't know all the married names. Thank you for the list, whoever left it up here. Come on up, you guys. Michelle Butt Thompson. Jennifer Court Fishback. Dawn DeWitt Siebert. Terry Marshall Wolf. Laura Mayberry Bilas. Did I say that right, Laura? No. Beth Rakowski Crescent. And Susan Uris Mertis. I was just going to say, any of you girls like to?
Come on, guys, let's go. I guess I got voted. Wow, this is kind of emotional. I don't know. This is very, very cool. We have to say thank you to our parents. Thank you to all the people that followed us. Obviously, thank you to Coach Mr. Hicks. We wouldn't be the people we are today if it weren't for us being on his team. I swore I wasn't going to do this. I should be up here. Being a part of this team, I don't have any other words to say except it was magical. We were a group of girls who had never played competitive until our freshman year of high school. And came up through 4 years, there were no clubs, none of us, there was no AAU, there was no nothing. We just played. And sometimes I think maybe Mr. Hicks studied Coach Bobby Knight's films more than he studied other basketball, but that's okay. You know, that old phrase, coach 'em up. He coached them up. That's what he did. And we were lucky enough to be part of that magic. And I don't know that anyone would disagree. It's 7 girls with a bond that will never break, a chemistry that can never be forgotten. And I am so honored and privileged to be up here and to say thank you and be a part of this.
And while Wade and I kind of portrayed Ralph as a gruff and animated and disciplinarian and all that, all of those things he certainly was. But you're right, Wade, he's smiling tonight. I can't remember how many of those breakfasts I had with him where he said the same thing. When are you going to get that team in the Hall of Fame? So, wherever Ralph is, he's got a smile on his face right now, and that's good. All right. From 1995 through 2003, the Rockets certainly were fast. Our track program has gone to new heights under a couple of guys that let's not forget too, Ralph was a track